Hey guys, welcome to STEMStacked, your go-to place to build real STEM skills one concept at a time. Today, we'll be looking at a method of solving quadratic equations known as the quadratic formula. If you missed any of my introductory videos on quadratic equations, or you just want to brush up on your understanding of quadratics, you can access the links to those videos in the description. Let's get started. Now recall we said that quadratic equations can be written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a, b, and c are real numbers, x is the variable, and a is not equal to 0. The quadratic formula is written in this form. X equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And this formula gives the roots for all quadratic equations. Now the terms a, b, and c in this formula are similar to the terms a, b, and c in the characteristic equation above. Now let us use this formula to solve a couple of quadratic equations. In our first example, we'll have x squared plus 2x minus 8 equals to 0. The first step is to find the values of a, b, and c. Now when we compare our equation to the characteristic equation we had above, we can tell the value of a is 1 because the coefficient of x squared is 1. The value of b is 2 because the coefficient of x is 2, and the value of c is negative 8. The next step will be feeding these values into our formula, and that will be x is equal to negative b, which is negative 2, plus or minus square root of b squared, which is 2 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 8, all over 2 times a, which is 2, times 1. Once we have this, we can work out the value of the part of the equation that's inside the square root. Now, when we work out what's in the bracket, let me just write it down here. We'll have 2 squared minus 4 into 1 into negative 8. We know from the order of operations, we begin with exponentiation and multiplication or division, followed by addition and subtraction. We'll therefore work out this part and this part first, then subtract the two answers. So 2 squared is 4, and 4 times 1 times negative 8 gives us negative 32. So we'll have 4 minus negative 32, which is equal to 4 plus 32, which will give us 36. So therefore, we can rewrite our equation as now being x equals to negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 36 all over 2. Now, what is the square root of 36? The square root of 36 is 6. So this can be written as x equals to negative 2 plus or minus 6 all over 2. Now at this stage, we can find the two values of x by evaluating the first part of this equation, which is x equals negative 2 plus 6 all over 2. This one will give us 4 all over 2, which equals to 2. Or x equals negative 2 minus 6 all over 2. And this one gives us negative 8 all over 2, which is equals to negative 4. So the two roots of the equation are 2 and negative 4. And by the way, that is the essence of the plus or minus in the formula. The plus part gives us the first root, and the minus part gives us the second root. Let's look at another example. In this example 2, we'll work out 3x squared minus 11x minus 4 equals 0. Now, as always, the first step is to find the values of a, b, and c. Feel free to pause the video to try and see if you can get the values of the three coefficients. Now, the value of a is 3, the value of b is negative 11, and the value of c is negative 4. We now want to place these in our quadratic equation formula. That will give us x equals to negative b, which is the negative of negative 11 plus or minus square root of b squared, which is negative 11 squared minus 4 into a, which is 3, and c, which is negative 4, all over 2a, which is 2 times 3. Now, similar to the previous example, we can work out what we have inside the square root first. So that will be negative 11 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 4. Now, we know that negative 11 squared will give us 121. And 4 times 3 times negative 4 should give us negative 48 when you use a calculator. Now, working out this, we see that this is equal to 121 plus 48, which gives us 169. Since we're supposed to find the square root of the value we get, we can go ahead and find the square root of 169, which evaluates to 13. Let's feed that into our formula. So we'll have x equals to negative of negative 11, which we can evaluate as positive 11 plus or minus 13 all over 2 times 3, which we can evaluate as 6. So the first value of x will be x is equals to 11 plus 13 all over 6, which is equals to 24 all over 6, which will give us 4. The second value of x will be 11 minus 13 all over 6, which is equals to negative 2 all over 6, which is equals to negative a third. Now, those are the two values of x, or the two roots of x in this equation. Let's look at another example. Now, the third example says 4x squared plus 7x plus 2 equals 0. Feel free to pause the video and try and solve this equation using the quadratic formula. Okay, let's solve it together. The value of A is 4, B is 7, and C is 2. Again, these are the coefficients of x squared, x, and the constant respectively. Feeding this into our quadratic formula, let me just write it again over here. Yes, that's the quadratic formula. Now feeding this into our formula, we'll have x equals to negative b, which is negative 7, plus or minus square root of 7 squared minus 4 times 4 times 2 all over 2 times 4. Now working out what we have inside the square root, we'll have 7 squared minus 4 into 4 into 2. 7 squared is equal to 49, and 4 times 4 times 2 is equal to 32. So 49 minus 32 gives us 17. Now we're supposed to work out the square root of 17. And when you work this out and feed it into your calculator, you'll find that the square root is 4.123, truncated to 3 decimal places. Now we can write these values back into our formula. We'll have x equals negative 7 plus or minus 4.123 all over 2 times 4. Now that will give us the first value of x being negative 7 plus 4.123 all over 2 times 4, which is equal to 8. Now when you work this out using a calculator, you should get negative 0.3596. And the second value of x is negative 7 minus 4.123 all over 8. And when you work this out in your calculator, you will get negative 1.390. So these are the two roots of x from the quadratic equation. Let's look at the fourth example. For our fourth example, we have 2x squared plus 5x minus 4 equals 0. Again, feel free to pause the video and try this question before we work it out together. So in this equation, our a is equal to 2, b equals 5, and c equals negative 4. Writing these in the quadratic formula, we'll have x equals negative b, which is negative 5, plus or minus square root of b squared, which is 5 squared, minus 4ac, which is 4 times 2 times negative 4, all over 2 times a, which is 2 times 2. Now, working out what's inside the square root first, we'll have 5 squared minus 4 into 2 into negative 4. So that gives us 5 squared, which is equal to 25, minus 4 times 2 times negative 4. That actually gives us negative 32. So when we work this out, we'll get 57. The square root of 57, you can work that out using a calculator and you'll get 7.55. Now placing this back in our formula, we'll have x is equals to negative 5 plus or minus 7.55 all over 2 times 2, which gives us 4. So the first value of x is negative 5 plus 7.55 all over 4. Now, when you work this out using a calculator, you'll get 0.6375. And the second value of x is negative 5 minus 7.55 all over 4. And this gives us negative 3.1375. So these are the two roots. Now let's work out our final problem. The final example is 2x plus 1 into brackets is equal to 5 all over x minus 3. Now I know this example can seem daunting at first because it is not in the characteristic form ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. But no worries, we can make it into that form through cross multiplication. We can rewrite this equation as 2x plus 1 all over 1 is equal to 5 all over x minus 3. Since this part can be written all over 1, it's the same as 2x plus 1. We can then perform cross multiplication to eliminate the fractions, basically making the question a bit easier to handle. So that will be 2x plus 1 into bracket x minus 3 equals to 5 times 1, which is the same as 5. Let's work out this part. We can do so by opening up the brackets. We'll have 2x into x minus 3 plus 1 into x minus 3 equals 5. And 2x times x gives us 2x squared minus 2x times 3 gives us 6x plus 1 times x is x and 1 times negative 3 is minus 3 equals 5. Okay, let's collect the like terms. We'll have 2x squared minus 6x plus x will give us minus 5x minus 3 equals 5. Now remember, in our characteristic equation, we were equating it to 0. We can do the same to this equation by bringing the 5 to the left-hand side. And we know that when numbers cross the equal sign, their signs change. So since 5 was positive here, it will become a negative. So this will be 2x squared minus 5x minus 3 minus 5 equals 0. This gives us 2x squared minus 5x minus 3 minus 5 equals to minus 8 equals 0. Now at this point, you can get the values of a, b, and c easily. From the equation, a is equal to 2, b equals negative 5, and c equals negative 8. Feeding these into our quadratic formula, we'll have x is equal to negative b, which is the negative of negative 5, plus or minus square root of b squared, which is negative 5 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is negative 8, all over 2a, which is 2 times 2. Let's work out what we have inside the square root first. So that will be negative 5 squared minus 4 into 2 times negative 8. Negative 5 squared is equal to positive 25. And negative 4 times 2 times negative 8 is equal to negative 64. Now, 25 minus 64 is equal to 25 plus 64, which gives us 89. Now, let's find the square root of 89. From the calculator, the square root of 89 is equal to 9.434, rounded off to 3 decimal places. Placing these values back in our quadratic formula, we'll have x is equal to, the negative of negative 5 will be positive 5 plus or minus 9.434 all over 2 times 2, which is 4. So the first value of x will be equal to 5 plus 9.434 all over 4, which is equal to 3.608. And the second value of x will be 5 minus 9.434 all over 4, which will be equal to negative 1.1085. And these are the two roots of the equation. A bonus example will be 4x plus 5 is equal to 3 over x. Now, you can pause the video and try and see if you can answer this before we work it out together. Great. Similar to the previous example, the first step involves cross multiplication to be able to place it in the form of the characteristic equation we had. So that would be 4x plus 5 multiplied by x equals to 3 times 1, which is 3. So this is 4x squared plus 5x equals to 3. And since we need to equate it to 0, we'll have 4x squared plus 5x minus 3 equals 0. Now at this stage, we know that a is equal to 4, b is equal to 5, and c equals negative 3. Placing those in our quadratic equation, we'll have x is equals to negative b, which is negative 5, plus or minus square root of b squared, which is 5 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 4, times c, which is negative 3, all over 2a. Now let's work out what's inside the square root. That is 5 squared minus 4 into 4 into negative 3. 5 squared gives us 25. 25 minus 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times negative 3 is negative 48. So 25 minus negative 48 is equal to 25 plus 48, which gives us 73. Now we need to find the square root of 73. From the calculator, the square root of 73 is 8.544, truncated to 3 decimal places. Now placing that back in our formula, we'll have x equals negative 5 plus or minus 8.544 all over 2a. And a here is actually supposed to be 4. Sorry, I forgot to place that. So that will be 2 times 4, which is 8. So the first value of x is negative 5 plus 8.544 all over 8, which is equal to 0.443. And the second value of x is equals to negative 5 minus 8.544 all over 8, which is equal to negative 1.693. So those are the two values of x. So basically, that's how we use the quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations. The quadratic formula is very beneficial because it can solve all kinds of quadratic equations, especially those that cannot be solved through factorization. It can even solve quadratic equations that have complex roots. And we'll be looking at those types of quadratic equations in a coming series when we'll be tackling De Moivre's theorem. So look out for that. In case you have any question, feel free to post them down on the comments. I go through those quite a lot. In our next video, we'll be looking at another method of solving quadratic equations, which is using the completing the square method. This is also a very fun and robust method, especially for those who love a little bit of algebra and arithmetic. You'll really enjoy using this method. You can find the links to the previous videos, which involve using factorization and introduction to quadratics, in the description. You can find the link to the next video in the description as well. As always, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for following through with me as we work out these problems together. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and comment, as this really helps to put my content out there. I'll see you in the next video.